Welcome back. So we are still on indices. So today we'll be solving examples on indices. So if you're able to solve all these 20 questions on indices, then there's no dimension of indices question that will come that you will not be able to solve. So as long as you understand it, don't worry, you will not be solving it alone. So the way I do mine, I solve one, you solve one. So that's just the way we do it. I'll solve number one, you solve number two, I'll solve number three, you solve number four. So anyone you cannot solve, reach out to me. I will gladly help. Yeah. So now let's start with the question. Says example, simplify the following. Now question one says 2 raised to power 3 multiplied by 2 raised to power 4. All these questions will be applying the laws of indices. We'll be applying the laws of indices. Now solution. Now for question one, it says 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 4. Now how do you go about it? 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 4. Now if you look at it very well, this looks like the first law. If you have not watched my previous video on indices, go back and watch it. Go and watch all the laws of indices. There I explain everything. So if you look at it very well now, it looks like the first law. Now how do we now solve it? You solve it by saying what? I told you that when they're having the same base, when they're having the same base and it's multiplication, what do? You pick one base and what do you do to their power? You add their power. Share you get. So you see that they're having the same base. So what do? We say you pick one base, which is 2. Then that will be, what do we do to their power? If it is multiplication, what do we do to their power? You add. That will be 3 plus 4. So what is it going to be giving us? It will be giving us 2 to the power of what? 7. And what is 2 to the power of 7? 2 to the power of 7 will give us what? 128. Will give us 128. Now, if it is an objective question, and they ask this kind of question, either they stop here or they simplify the answer further. Sure, you understand? Either the option is in this form or it is going to be in this form. Sure, you understand? So that is that about that. So try and solve question 2. 3 to the power of 4 multiplied by 3 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of 7. You know it's very, very simple now. What do? Everything is having the what? They are having a common what? A common base. What do? You pick one base. And what is this? Multiplication. What do you do to the power? You add. So I'll help you and solve number 2 with my mouth like that. Now going to question 3. What does question 3 says? Question 3 says 5 to the power of 7 divided by 5 to the power of 4. 5 to the power of 7 divided by 5 to the power of 4. Now if you look at it, it looks like the second law, that when you're having the same base and it's division sign in between, what do? You subtract their power. So what do we do here? We say 5 to the power of 7 minus 4. You pick one of the base, then what do you do to their power? It's division now. You subtract their power. Now what do? That is going to give us 5 to the power of what? 5 to the power of 3, right? And 5 to the power of 3 will give us what? 125. 5 to the power of 3 will give us 125. Do you understand? And that's how we solve that. That is all on that. Now, try and solve question 4. 2 to the power of 5 divided by 2 to the power of 3. See that is not hard. So, I solve one, you solve one. That's just the way we are going to do it. So, try and solve it. If you can't solve any of the question, reach out to me. I'm willing to help. Now, going to question 5. Question 5 says 2 to the power of 5 in bracket to the power of 3. Now, if you look at it, it looks like a law on under indices. Now, how do we solve it now? You see that when they are having 2 power, what do? You just multiply their power. That will be 2 to the power, that will be 5 times 3, right? Then that will give us 2 to the power of what? 15. 2 to the power of 15. Then that will give us, the answer is very, very long. So, do you get? So, that's 32768. 32768. So if they're asking this question in an objective question, just know that if the answer is not in this form, then they are telling you to go further. Sure, you understand? They're asking you to go further. So that is that about that. Now, so try and solve question 6. 3 to the power of 4, then in bracket to the power of 2. So try and solve question 6. I think that one too, you'll be able to solve it. Now let's go to question 7. Now coming to question 7. Question 7 says 2 to the power of negative 3. Now, don't forget, oh, now, I told you that another way of writing this, guys, anytime you see anything raised to power minus, another way of writing it is what? 1 over. Don't forget. Another way of writing it is what? 1 over. Then that will be 2 to the power of what? Then the power will not have any negative again. Because anything raised to power minus, another way to write it is what? 1 over. Do you understand? So, and what will be our answer? Our answer will be 1 over. That's all. But 2 to the power of 3 will give us what? Will give us 8. Will give us 8. So, if you don't see the option here, then they're asking you to go further. Share again. So that is that about that. Now, solve question 8. I know you'll be able to solve question 8. Now, question 9. Question 9 is even very, very simple. Now, what is the answer for question 9? Question 9 says 15 to the power of 0. What is the answer? 1. Don't stress yourself. Anything raised to the power of 0 is what? 1. Anything raised to the power of 0 is what? 1. Don't stress yourself. Now, that is that about that. Now, let me see if I can solve one more. So, question 10. Try and solve question 10 yourself. Now, question 11. Question 11. Now, it says 4 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of 2. Now, 4 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of 2. Now, this is a law under indices. Now, don't forget, they're having different base this time, but the same power. Different base, but the same power. Now, what do we do? I told you, what do you just do? You just say 4 to the power 4 multiplied by 3 and all to that power. They're having different base, but the same power. Here was the same base, but different power. So you get, if they have the same base, but different power, and it's multiplication, you add their power. If it's division, you subtract. But here is now different base, but the same power. What do you now do? Okay, with multiplication, that will be 4 multiplied by 3, then the power will now be outside, always to the power of. Now, that will be 4 times 3 will give us 12, then to the power of 2. And that will give us 12 to the power of 2 will give us what? 144. 144.